The red dust of Kepler 442b swirled around Amanda Foster's boots as she walked toward the dig site. The alien sun cast strange shadows across the ruins that stretched for miles in every direction. She had been working on this planet for 3 months now, and every day brought new mysteries about the race that once lived here. Amanda wiped sweat from her forehead and looked at the massive stone blocks that formed what used to be buildings. The Valix had built their cities to last forever, but something had made them disappear 50,000 years ago. No bodies, no weapons, no signs of war. They had simply vanished, leaving behind empty cities and unanswered questions. "Amanda, you need to see this," called Jake Morrison from across the excavation pit. Jake was the team's language expert, and his voice carried an excitement that made Amanda hurry toward him. She climbed down the metal ladder into the pit where Jake stood next to a smooth crystal structure about the size of a refrigerator. Lisa Wong, their field specialist, was carefully brushing dirt away from its surface while Danny Carter kept watch. Danny always stayed alert for danger, even though they hadn't seen any signs of life on this dead world. "What did you find?" Amanda asked, kneeling beside the crystal. "It's some kind of data storage device," Jake said, running his scanner over the surface. "But it's not like anything we've seen from the Valix before. The crystal formation is completely different, and look at these symbols." Amanda studied the markings carved into the crystal's base. They were definitely Valix writing, but the style was rushed and desperate, unlike the careful inscriptions they had found in other ruins. "Can you read it?" she asked. Jake nodded slowly. "The basic message is clear, but there are parts that make no sense. It talks about warnings and ... Earth." "Earth?" Lisa looked up from her work. Why would an alien race 50,000 years ago know about Earth? "That's what makes this so strange," Jake replied. He activated his translation program and connected it to the crystal. The device is still functional. Whatever the Valix used to power these things, it lasts a very long time. The crystal began to glow with a soft blue light. Holographic symbols appeared in the air above it, shifting and changing as Jake's computer worked to translate them. The team watched in silence as the alien words slowly became English text on Jake's screen. "My God," Jake whispered as he read. "Amanda, this is incredible and terrifying. What does it say?" Jake cleared his throat and began to read aloud. Final record of the Valix High Council. "We have spent our last years studying the archives of dead civilizations. 17 races that came before us, all extinct, all leaving the same warning. The small blue world in the Sol system hides a secret that makes our greatest weapons look like toys." Amanda felt a chill run down her spine. "Keep going. The humans appear primitive, but every advanced race that has studied them reaches the same conclusion. They are hiding something that could destroy us all. The Eternal Empire had 10 million ships and ruled 1,000 worlds. Their final message before they died spoke of the same fear. The crystal minds of Andromeda, who could think faster than our computers, left identical warnings about the third planet of Sol." Lisa stood up, her face pale. "This can't be real. How could ancient aliens know about humans?" "There's more," Jake continued reading. "We have tried to understand what makes the humans so dangerous. Our best scientists studied them from far away using quantum telescopes. They look weak and divided, always fighting among themselves. But beneath their world, we detected energy, patterns that should not exist. Something sleeps under their surface, something older than any civilization we know." Danny stepped closer to the group. "This is starting to sound like a bad dream." Jake kept reading. "We are evacuating our core worlds. If anyone finds this message, do not go to the Sol system. Do not make contact with the humans. They are hiding something far more dangerous than death itself. May the cosmos forgive us for what we discovered. The crystal's glow faded, and the holographic text disappeared. The four humans stood in silence, trying to process what they had just learned. It has to be some kind of mistake, Lisa said finally. Maybe the translation is wrong. Jake shook his head. The language is clear. These are the final records of a dying civilization, and they're warning everyone to stay away from Earth. Amanda's mind raced as she considered the implications. If this is true, then every human ship exploring the galaxy, every colony we've built, every contact we've made with other races, ... We've been scaring them without knowing it, Danny finished. But that's impossible, Lisa protested. Humans aren't dangerous to advanced alien civilizations. We barely have faster-than-light travel. Most alien races we've met have technology. That makes ours look primitive. Amanda knelt down and examined the crystal more closely. Jake, you said they mentioned 17 extinct civilizations all leaving the same warning? That's what it says. Then we need to find more of these crystals. If the Valix collected warnings from other dead races, there might be more information stored around here. The team spent the rest of the day searching the immediate area. As the alien sun began to set, they had found 12 more crystal storage devices, all containing similar warnings about Earth and humanity. Some were more specific than others. The Zephyrians had detected quantum disturbances around Earth's major mountain ranges. The Moltuk Empire had recorded impossible energy readings from deep beneath the planet's surface. The most disturbing message came from a race called the Architects, who claimed they had sealed away the greatest threat the galaxy has ever known. That night, as the team sat around their portable heater in the research tent, Amanda stared at the translated messages on her tablet. 18 different alien civilizations, all extinct, all leaving warnings about humanity. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately, she said. If what these messages suggest is true, then everything we thought we knew about our place in the galaxy is wrong. Jake looked up from his own tablet. What if we're not the innocent explorers we think we are? What if there's something about humanity that we don't understand ourselves? Something dangerous enough to make advanced civilizations flee rather than fight, Danny added quietly. Amanda felt a deep unease settling in her stomach. Tomorrow, they would pack up these crystal devices and head back to Earth with the most disturbing discovery in human history. But as she looked out at the vast ruins of the Valix civilization, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into something far bigger and more dangerous than any of them could imagine. The United Earth Research Station orbited the moon like a giant silver wheel spinning slowly in space. Admiral Kate Sullivan stood in the main conference room, watching Earth rise over the lunar horizon through the massive viewing window. In 2 hours, she would hear information that might change everything humanity thought about itself. Kate had called this emergency meeting after receiving Amanda Foster's urgent transmission from Kepler 442b. The message had been brief but alarming, enough to bring together the most important people in human space exploration and defense. The conference room door opened, and General Rick Hayes walked in wearing his formal military uniform. Behind him came Director Susan Park from Colonial Intelligence, a thin woman with sharp eyes who knew more secrets than anyone in the solar system. Dr. Alex Turner, the Chief Science Officer, followed them carrying a tablet full of data. Admiral, General Hayes said as he took his seat at the long table, I've read the preliminary report from the Foster team. Please tell me this is some kind of mistake. Kate shook her head. I wish I could, General. But we've had our best people checking the translations. The warnings are real. Dr. Turner activated the large screen at the front of the room. Before Dr. Foster's team arrives, I want to show you what we've discovered in our own databases. The pattern is even worse than we first thought. The screen displayed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of red dots scattered across it. Each dot marked the location of an extinct civilization. Over the past century, our exploration teams have cataloged the remains of dead civilizations across human space, Dr. Turner explained. We always assumed they died from natural causes, wars, or cosmic disasters. But after receiving the Valix warnings, we started looking for similar messages. Susan Park leaned forward in her chair. How many did you find? 37 so far, Dr. Turner replied. And we're still searching. Every single one mentions Earth or humanity in their final transmissions. The conference room door opened again, and Amanda Foster entered with her team. She looked tired from the long journey back from Kepler 442b, but her eyes were alert and focused. Jake Morrison, Lisa Wong, and Danny Carter followed her to seats at the table. Dr. Foster, Admiral Sullivan said, thank you for coming so quickly. We understand you have more information than what was in your initial report. Amanda nodded and activated her own tablet. Admiral, what we found on Kepler 442b is just the beginning. The Valix had been collecting warnings from other extinct races for thousands of years. They were trying to understand why so many advanced civilizations were disappearing. Jake Morrison stood up and connected his translation device to the main screen. The messages all follow the same pattern. Each civilization discovers something about Earth or humanity that terrifies them. Then they try to evacuate their people as far away as possible. Then they go extinct. The screen showed several translated messages. General Hayes read one aloud. From the crystal mines of Andromeda, the human's homeworld generates quantum fields that should not exist in nature. Our greatest scientists cannot explain the energy patterns beneath their surface. We are moving our core systems to the far side of the galaxy. Here's another one, Susan Park said, pointing to a different message. From the Moltak Empire, 17 of our survey ships have malfunctioned while observing the Sol system from long range. The energy readings from Earth's mountain ranges exceed our power generation by factors we cannot calculate. We recommend immediate retreat from this sector of space. Dr. Turner pulled up a new display showing Earth with several bright spots marking the major mountain ranges. This is what's been keeping me awake at night. Our own deep scan satellites have been detecting similar energy signatures for years. We always assumed they were natural geological formations. What kind of energy signatures? Amanda asked. That's the problem. We don't know. The readings don't match any known power source, natural or artificial. But the energy levels are enormous. A single pulse from one of these sources would power our entire civilization for 1,000 years. Lisa Wong raised her hand. Dr. Turner, have you detected any changes in these energy signatures recently? Why do you ask? Because the Valix crystals contained one more piece of information we haven't shared yet. Amanda looked around the table at the concerned faces. The final Valix message wasn't just a warning. It was a countdown. Jake Morrison activated another display, showing Valix symbols slowly changing over time. The Valix believed that whatever is hidden on Earth operates on cycles. Long periods of dormancy, followed by brief periods of activity. According to their calculations, the next active period should begin soon. How soon? Admiral Sullivan asked. Within the next few years, possibly sooner. General Hayes stood up and began pacing. Let me understand this correctly. Dozens of advanced alien civilizations have been watching Earth for thousands of years. They all detect the same mysterious energy sources that we can't explain. And now these sources are about to become active again. That's correct, General. Susan Park activated her own tablet and pulled up classified intelligence reports. There's something else you all need to know. Our long-range communication arrays have been intercepting alien transmissions for the past month. Most are too far away to translate completely, but we've identified several key phrases that keep repeating. She played an audio file filled with strange electronic sounds and alien voices. After a moment, a computer-generated translation began speaking in English. Sol system quarantine still holding. Energy readings increasing ... Recommend buffer. Zone expansion to 60 light years. The sleepers may be awakening. All ships maintain minimum safe distance. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They're still watching us, Danny Carter said quietly. All these years, we thought we were alone in this part of the galaxy, but they've been out there, afraid to come closer. Dr. Turner brought up another display showing recent deep space scans. It gets worse. We've detected massive artificial structures on the edge of our solar system. Cloaked, but our newest sensors can pick up their gravitational signatures. Ships, possibly, or monitoring stations. Amanda felt her heart racing. How long have they been there? We don't know. The structures could have been watching us for centuries, maybe longer. Admiral Sullivan looked at each person around the table. Ladies and gentlemen, we are facing the possibility that humanity is not what we think we are. Every alien civilization that has studied us has reached the same conclusion. We are dangerous in ways we don't understand. The question is, General Haas added, what do we do with this information? Do we start digging into these energy sources? Do we try to contact the aliens who are watching us? Or do we pretend we never learned any of this? Susan Park shook her head. It's too late for pretending. If what the Valix predicted is true, and these energy sources are about to become active, then ready or not, we're about to discover what makes humanity so terrifying to the rest of the galaxy. Dr. Turner saved all the data to his tablet and looked around the room. I recommend we begin immediate deep excavation of the energy signature sites. If something is buried beneath our major mountain ranges, we need to know what it is before it decides to wake up on its own. Amanda stared out the viewing window at Earth, her home world spinning peacefully in space. Somewhere beneath that familiar blue surface lay secrets that had made the greatest civilizations in galactic history flee in terror. Soon, humanity would discover what those secrets were. President Claire Mitchell signed the authorization papers with a heavy heart. Operation Deep Truth was the most classified project in human history, and she was the only person who could approve it. The documents in front of her would either reveal humanity's greatest secret or destroy everything they had built. Are you sure about this, Madam President? Asked her chief of staff. Standing beside her desk in the Oval Office. Claire looked up from the papers. We don't have a choice. If something is buried under our mountains, and it's about to wake up, we need to know what it is before that happens. 3,000 miles away, Colonel Steve Adams stood at the edge of a massive construction site in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. The government had told local residents that they were building a new geological research facility, but the truth was far more complicated. Behind him, enormous drilling machines worked day and night to dig deeper into the earth than any human had ever gone before. Colonel Adams called Dr. Rachel Kim as she approached carrying a tablet full of data. Rachel was the scientific director of the operation and one of the smartest people Steve had ever met. We've reached the 5-mile depth mark. The energy readings are getting stronger. Steve looked at the massive drill that disappeared into the ground. Any problems with the equipment? That's what I wanted to talk to you about. The quantum drilling system is working perfectly, but we're starting to see some unusual effects. Dr. Rachel led Steve to the main control center, a building filled with computers and monitoring equipment. Inside, Ben Clark was studying geological readouts while Maria Santos worked on energy measurements. Dr. Paul Green, their expert on alien technology, was examining quantum field data that made no sense. Show me what you found, Steve said. Ben Clark pointed to his screen. Colonel, according to our instruments, we're drilling through normal rock and earth. But the drill is encountering resistance patterns that don't match any known geological formations. What kind of resistance? It's like the rock is trying to repair itself as we drill through it. The drill cuts through, but our sensors show the material flowing back together behind it. Maria Santos looked up from her energy readings. That's not the strangest part, Colonel. The energy signature we're following isn't just getting stronger as we go deeper. It's getting more complex, like it's responding to our presence. Dr. Paul Green turned away from his quantum field display. Colonel, I've been studying alien technology for 15 years. What we're seeing down there doesn't match anything in our databases. The quantum fields are fluctuating in patterns that suggest intelligence. Steve felt a chill run down his spine. Intelligence? You mean something down there knows we're coming? I can't be certain, but the patterns are too organized to be natural. Dr. Rachel activated the main display screen, showing a cross-section view of their drilling progress. We're currently at 5.2 miles deep. The target depth is 7 miles, based on the strongest energy readings. But Colonel, there's something else you need to know. What? Several of our team members have been reporting unusual dreams since we started the deep drilling. Very vivid dreams about vast spaces and beings that don't look like anything we've ever seen. Steve looked around the control room at his team. Dreams? That doesn't sound like a scientific concern. Ben Clark spoke up. Colonel, I've been having them too. Dreams about flying through space, seeing planets and stars, but also seeing things that are alive, but not biological. It's like seeing thoughts that have physical form. I've had similar experiences, Maria added. And the dreams always end the same way. Something enormous and ancient is sleeping, and it's starting to wake up. Dr. Paul Green pulled up another display. Colonel, there's a possibility that whatever is down there is affecting our brains through quantum field manipulation. Some advanced civilizations we've studied had technology that could influence consciousness at a distance. Steve considered this information carefully. Dr. Kim, how much longer until we reach the target depth? At our current drilling rate. Approximately 18 hours. And our equipment is functioning normally despite these quantum effects. Yes, sir. Whatever is down there seems to be curious about us rather than hostile. Our instruments are working better than expected. Steve made his decision. We continue the operation. But I want all team members to report any unusual experiences immediately, and I want extra security measures in place. 18 hours later, Steve stood in the control room watching the drill penetrate the final layer of rock before reaching the target depth. The energy readings had been climbing steadily, and now they were off the scale. Colonel, Dr. Rachel called out, "We're breaking through into some kind of open space." The drill stopped moving downward and began spinning freely. On the screen, they could see that the drill bit had emerged into a vast chamber deep beneath the mountain. "Lower the camera probe," Steve ordered. A small robotic camera descended through the drill hole on a long cable. As it entered the chamber, the images it sent back made everyone in the control room freeze in amazement. The chamber was enormous, stretching far beyond what their lights could illuminate. But more incredible than its size were the structures inside it. Something that looked part machine, part living organism, and part pure energy filled the space. It pulsed with a soft light that seemed to respond to the camera's presence. "My God," Dr. Paul Green whispered. "It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time." The structure seemed to be built from materials that didn't exist in nature. Some parts appeared to be metal, but metal that flowed like liquid. Other sections looked organic, like the inside of some massive creature. And throughout it all, energy flowed in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "Dr. Kim," Steve said quietly, "how old is this thing?" Rachel was running analysis programs on the images. "Colonel," based on the quantum decay patterns and energy signatures. This structure is approximately 65 million years old. 65 million years? Ben Clark looked up from his geological data. That's when the dinosaurs went extinct. Maria. Santos was studying the energy readings from the chamber. Colonel, the energy output from this structure is incredible. It's generating more power than our largest fusion reactors, but it's been dormant for millions of years. And now it's waking up, Dr. Paul Green added, watching the patterns of light move through the structure. The quantum fields are becoming more active every minute. Steve realized they had found something that had been sleeping beneath Earth since before humans existed. Something so old and powerful that it had made advanced alien civilizations flee in terror. Dr. Kim, I need you to contact President Mitchell immediately. Tell her we found what's been hidden under our world for 65 million years. What should I tell her it is? Steve looked at the screen, showing the massive structure pulsing with ancient energy. Tell her we've found something that has been guarding Earth since the age of dinosaurs. And tell her it's starting to wake up. As if responding to his words, the structure's lights grew brighter, and the quantum fields fluctuated in a pattern that almost seemed like breathing. Dr. Ian Foster sat in his office at the Global Geological Survey, staring at earthquake readings that made no sense. Ian was Amanda's younger brother, and like his sister, he was used to finding strange things in his work. But what he was seeing on his computer screen was impossible. Every major mountain range on Earth was showing synchronized seismic activity. The Rocky Mountains, the Himalayas, the Andes, the Alps, even underwater mountain ranges in the deep ocean. All of them were vibrating at exactly the same frequency. This can't be right, Ian muttered, checking his instruments again. But the readings were clear. Something beneath Earth's major mountains was waking up, and it was happening everywhere. At once, his phone rang. Dr. Foster, this is General Hayes from the Defense Department. We need to talk. 20 minutes later, Ian was in a secure video conference with military officials he had never met before. General Hayes explained about Operation Deep Truth and the discovery beneath the Rocky Mountains. Ian listened in amazement as he learned about his sister's discovery and the ancient structure that had been sleeping under Colorado. Dr. Foster, General Hayes said, we need to know if the excavation in Colorado has triggered activity in other locations. Ian pulled up his global seismic data. General, it's not just triggered activity. Every major mountain range on Earth is showing the same energy patterns we detected in Colorado. Whatever you found under the Rockies, it's not alone. Meanwhile, on Mars Colony 7, engineer Zoe Parker was dealing with her own impossible situation. The quantum mining equipment at Olympus Mons had been acting strangely for the past week, and now her instruments were detecting energy signatures that shouldn't exist on the Red Planet. Base Control, this is Mining Station 7, Zoe spoke. Into her radio. I'm getting readings that match nothing in our geological databases. What kind of readings, Zoe? Came the reply from the main colony base. Energy signatures similar to what Earth reported from their deep excavation project. But that's impossible. Mars is a dead planet. Zoe suited up and went outside to check the mining equipment personally. As she approached the drill site near Olympus Mons, her radiation detector began clicking rapidly. But these weren't normal radiation readings. The energy was coming from deep underground, and it was getting stronger every hour. Back on Earth, Dr. Ashley Moore was studying tissue samples from the Colorado structure when she made a discovery that changed everything. Ashley was a xenobiologist who specialized in alien life forms, but what she found in the samples was beyond anything she had ever seen. Colonel Adams, she called over the intercom, you need to see this immediately. Steve Adams arrived at Ashley's lab to find her staring at microscopic images on her computer screen. The images showed what looked like genetic material but it was unlike any DNA or alien genetic code they had encountered before. Colonel, this structure isn't just a machine or a building. It's alive. But more than that, it contains genetic information from thousands of different species. Species from Earth? Not just Earth, Colonel. I'm finding genetic markers from life forms that could only exist on dozens of different worlds. This thing has been collecting and storing biological information from across the galaxy for millions of years. Steve studied the genetic readouts on Ashley's screen. Dr. Moore, are you saying this structure is some kind of cosmic library? More than a library, Colonel. Based on these genetic patterns, I think it's been preserving life itself. Every time a species goes extinct, somehow, this structure saves their genetic information. At Jupiter Station, orbiting the gas giant, Commander Tony Walsh was dealing with his own crisis. The research station's instruments had detected massive quantum anomalies near the Great Red Spot, and his science team couldn't explain what they were seeing. Commander, called Dr. Linda Price from the quantum physics lab, the anomalies are getting stronger. Whatever is causing them is huge. Tony looked at the readings from their deep space sensors. How huge? The energy signatures suggest structures the size of small moons, hiding in Jupiter's upper atmosphere. And Commander, they're not natural. Back on Earth, the intercepted alien communications were becoming more frequent and more desperate. Susan Park sat in the Colonial Intelligence Headquarters, listening to translations of messages from civilizations that humans had never contacted. The latest message was from a race called the Keth Mori, and their fear was obvious even through the computer translation. Emergency broadcast to all surviving civilizations. The Tarani have disturbed the sleepers beneath their homeworld. All fleets must evacuate to minimum safe distance immediately. Begin implementation of Omega Protocol, the message continued. The last civilization to wake the sleepers was the Eternal Empire. They controlled 100,000 worlds and had weapons that could destroy stars. After they awakened the sleepers, only dust remained. Susan played the recording for President Mitchell during an emergency briefing. Madam President, we're receiving similar warnings from at least a dozen different alien civilizations. They're all fleeing this part of the galaxy. President Mitchell sat quietly for a moment, processing the information. Susan, do we have any idea what this Omega Protocol means? Our computers are still analyzing the alien languages, but based on context, it appears to be some kind of evacuation plan. They're not just leaving our solar system. They're leaving this entire section of the galaxy. At the Colorado excavation site, Dr. Rachel Kim was monitoring the ancient structure when it began to change. The energy patterns that had been stable for days suddenly started fluctuating in complex rhythms. Colonel Adams, she called urgently, the structure is responding to something. The quantum fields are reorganizing themselves. Steve Adams rushed to the control room. Responding to what? I think it's responding to the awakening of similar structures around the solar system. Colonel, I believe we're seeing a network coming online after millions of years of dormancy. Dr. Paul Green looked up from his quantum field analysis. Colonel, if this is a network, then every structure we've detected is connected to every other structure. Earth, Mars, Jupiter, possibly other locations we haven't found yet. Connected how? Through quantum entanglement operating on a scale we didn't think was possible. These structures can communicate instantaneously across any distance. Ian Foster's voice came over the communication system from his geological survey office. Colonel, I'm detecting synchronized activity in underwater mountain ranges now. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the Pacific Ring of Fire, deep ocean trenches. Whatever these structures are, they're everywhere. On Mars, Zoe Parker reported similar findings. Earth control, the energy readings at Olympus Mons just increased by 300%. And I'm detecting artificial structures beneath the Martian surface that weren't there yesterday. Weren't there yesterday? Steve Adams asked over the radio. Colonel, these structures appear to be growing, building themselves from materials I can't identify. Dr. Ashley Moore made another disturbing discovery in her lab. Colonel, I've found human genetic material in the Colorado structure. Human genetic material? But the structure is 65 million years old. That's what makes this so disturbing, Colonel. The human DNA is integrated into the structure's core systems. Not added recently, but part of the original design from millions of years ago. Steve Adams felt the weight of realization settling on him. Dr. Moore, are you suggesting that whoever built these structures knew about humans before humans existed? I'm suggesting something even more disturbing than that, Colonel. Based on the genetic integration patterns, I think humans were designed to interact with these structures. We weren't meant to discover them by accident. We were meant to find them when they were ready for us. President Mitchell's voice came over the secure communication channel. Colonel Adams, I need a full report on the current situation. Steve looked around the control room at his team of scientists and engineers, all dealing with discoveries that challenged everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the universe. Madam President, we have ancient structures awakening. Beneath every major mountain range on Earth, similar structures are becoming active on Mars and Jupiter. Alien civilizations are fleeing this part of the galaxy in fear, and the structures appear to have been designed with human involvement in mind, even though they're older than human civilization. What's your assessment, Colonel? Madam President, I believe we're about to discover why every advanced civilization in the galaxy is afraid of humanity. And I don't think we're going to like the answer. The structure beneath the Rocky Mountains had been changing for 3 days. What started as gentle pulses of light had become complex patterns that seemed almost like a language. Dr. Rachel Kim stood in the control room, watching the ancient entity communicate in ways that human science could barely understand. Colonel Adams, Rachel called, her voice filled with excitement and fear. I think it's trying to talk to us. Steve Adams joined her at the main display, watching waves of energy flow through the massive structure 7 miles below ground. The patterns were becoming more organized, more purposeful. Talk to us how, Dr. Kim? Through quantum telepathic interface. The structure is generating fields that can interact directly with human brain activity. It's been trying to establish contact since yesterday, but I wasn't sure it was safe. Dr. Paul Green looked up from his quantum field analysis. Colonel, the energy patterns match theoretical models for consciousness-to-consciousness communication. If Dr. Kim is right, this entity wants to share information directly with a human mind. Steve considered the risks. Everything they had learned suggested that this structure was connected to humanity's deepest secrets. If they wanted answers, someone would have to make contact. Dr. Kim, what are the dangers of this quantum telepathic interface? Rachel checked her readings carefully. Unknown, Colonel. But the entity seems to be adjusting its communication methods to be compatible with human neurology. It's like it knows exactly how our brains work. That's because it does, Dr. Ashley Moore said as she entered the control room carrying her latest research. Colonel, I've made another discovery about the genetic material in the structure. The human DNA isn't just integrated into the entity's systems. The entity helped create human DNA. Steve felt his world shift. What do you mean, helped create? Ashley activated her tablet and showed them genetic comparison charts. Colonel, modern human genetic code contains sequences that don't exist in any other Earth species. These sequences are identical to programming instructions I found in the structures. Core systems, programming instructions, instructions for consciousness development, enhanced neural capacity, and quantum neural interface compatibility. Colonel, humans weren't designed by evolution alone. We were modified by this entity and others like it. Steve looked at his team of scientists, all dealing with revelations that challenged everything they thought they knew about humanity. Dr. Kim, establish contact with the entity. We need answers. Rachel nodded and activated the quantum telepathic interface. She placed a specialized headset connected to the quantum field generators and sat down in the communication chair. Beginning interface contact, she announced. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then Rachel's body went rigid, and her eyes rolled back. When she spoke again, her voice had a strange quality, as if two people were talking at the same time. We have waited so long for you to find us, the entity said through Rachel. Your species has finally developed enough to understand the truth. Steve stepped closer to Rachel's chair. What truth? What are you? We are the architects. We were the first intelligence to arise in this galaxy, millions of years before any other civilization. We seeded life throughout the stars, nurturing species and guiding their development. Why? What was your purpose? To find the one species that could transcend the limitations of biological existence. To find a race that could become something greater than matter and energy. After searching for hundreds of millions of years, we found the potential we sought. Steve felt his heart racing. In humans? In your ancestors. The species that would become humanity showed the ability to manipulate reality at the quantum level, to exist as both matter and consciousness simultaneously. They could transcend death itself, reshape the universe with their thoughts. Dr. Paul Green stepped forward. If our ancestors had these abilities, why don't we? The entity's voice carried sadness. Because we became frightened of what we had created. Your ancestors' power grew beyond our ability to control or understand. They began reshaping entire star systems, creating and destroying matter at will. Some of them transcended physical form entirely, becoming beings of pure consciousness that could exist anywhere in space and time. Ashley Moore looked up from her genetic research. What happened to them? We imprisoned them. The architects created a quantum prison around the third planet of the Sol system. We placed barriers that would contain their abilities and reset their civilization whenever they approached their true potential. Steve felt sick as the implications became clear. Earth is a prison planet. Yes, we surrounded your world with quantum barriers and placed ourselves as eternal guardians. Every time human civilization advanced too far, we would trigger catastrophic events to reset your development. The dinosaur extinction, Rachel said, her own voice mixing with the entities. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, plagues. All interventions to prevent humanity from reaching its true nature. We told ourselves we were protecting the galaxy from a species too dangerous to exist freely. Dr. Paul Green asked the question everyone was thinking. Are we still dangerous? More dangerous than you can imagine, but also more wonderful. Your species has the potential to reshape reality itself, to transcend the boundaries between life and death, matter and energy, time and space. You could become gods in the truest sense of the word. Steve walked to the viewing screen, showing the ancient structure. Why are you telling us this now? Why end the imprisonment after millions of years? Because we are dying. The architects have maintained these quantum barriers for too long. Our energy is failing, and soon we will not be able to contain your true nature. The barriers around Earth are already weakening. Ashley looked at her genetic data. Is that why some humans are already showing unusual abilities? Yes. As the barriers weaken, some of your people are beginning to access their true potential. Healing from fatal injuries, manipulating matter, existing in multiple places simultaneously. These are just the beginning of what your species can become. Rachel's body trembled as the entity shared more information. But you must understand the cost of freedom. Every other civilization in the galaxy fears you for good reason. When your ancestors last walked free, they consumed entire star systems for energy, reshaped planets as experiments, and treated other intelligent species as interesting specimens. Are we monsters? Steve asked quietly. You are a species with the power of creation and destruction on a cosmic scale. Whether you become saviors or destroyers of the galaxy depends on choices you have not yet made. Dr. Paul Green studied his quantum readings. What happens if we choose to break free of the barriers completely? You will transform into something the universe has never seen. Some of you will retain your humanity and use your power wisely. Others will lose themselves in the intoxication of unlimited ability. The galaxy will either be elevated to heights of wonder or consumed in cosmic fire. Steve looked around the control room at his team. Do we have a choice? Can we choose to remain contained? The barriers are failing, whether you choose freedom or not. But we can offer you one final option. We can use our remaining energy to rebuild the quantum prison, stronger than before. You would remain safely limited, but your children and their children would never know what they could have become. Rachel's voice became her own again as she asked the entity's final question. What will humanity choose? Will you embrace your destiny as the most powerful beings the galaxy has ever known? Or will you accept eternal limitation to protect the universe from yourselves? The entity's presence faded from Rachel's mind, leaving her gasping in the communication chair. Around the control room, alarms began sounding as quantum barriers around Earth started fluctuating wildly. Steve Adams realized that within hours, he would have to help humanity make the most important decision in the history of the universe. Accept godlike power with all its terrible responsibilities, or choose the safety of eternal imprisonment. Either choice would change everything. President Claire Mitchell stood in the Situation Room beneath the White House, surrounded by the most powerful people in human civilization. The decision she was about to make would determine the future of humanity and possibly the entire galaxy. Around the table sat Admiral Kate Sullivan, General Rick Hayes, Director Susan Park, and Dr. Alex Turner. On the main screen, Colonel Steve Adams reported from the Colorado facility where the architect entity waited for humanity's answer. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, President Mitchell said. We can choose to remain as we are, limited, but safe, or we can become beings with the power to reshape reality itself. That's correct, Madam President, Colonel Adams replied from the screen. But the architect made it clear that doing nothing is not an option. The quantum barriers are failing whether we want them to or not. General Hayes leaned forward. What's the timeline for this decision? Dr. Rachel Kim appeared on screen beside Colonel Adams. General, our quantum field analysis shows the barriers will completely collapse within 6 hours. After that, human transformation will begin whether we're ready or not. Director Susan Park activated her tablet. Madam President, I've been monitoring global communications. Reports are coming in from around the world of humans displaying impossible abilities. A woman in Tokyo healed her own broken spine instantly. A man in London appeared to be in 3 different places at the same time. Children in Brazil are manipulating matter with their thoughts. How many cases? President Mitchell asked. Over 2,000 confirmed incidents in the past hour, and the number is growing exponentially. Dr. Alex Turner pulled up his own data. Madam President, I've been analyzing the pattern of these manifestations. They're not random. People with higher levels of stress, creativity, or emotional intensity are transforming first. It's as if crisis and passion are triggering the latent abilities. Admiral Sullivan studied the global reports. What about the alien civilizations that have been monitoring us? Are they taking any action? Susan Park switched to her deep space monitoring data. Admiral, long-range sensors show massive alien fleets retreating from our sector of the galaxy. They're not just leaving the solar system. They're evacuating entire star clusters. How far are they going? The nearest alien presence we can detect is now over 300 light-years away. They're treating us like a cosmic plague. President Mitchell looked at the faces around the table. What are our options? Colonel Adams spoke from Colorado. Madam President, the architect has presented us with 3 choices. First, we can ask them to use their remaining energy to rebuild the quantum barriers stronger than before. This would contain human abilities permanently, but it would also limit our growth as a species forever. Second option, we can allow the barriers to collapse naturally and let humanity transform gradually over the next few decades. This gives us time to adapt to our new abilities, but it also means we have no control over how the transformation happens. And the third option, Dr. Rachel Kim answered, we can ask the architect to remove all barriers immediately. This would give humanity full access to our abilities right away, but it would also mean instant transformation for everyone on Earth. General Hayes shook his head. Madam President, I recommend we choose containment. The warnings from 18 extinct civilizations cannot be ignored. If humanity becomes too powerful, we might destroy ourselves and everything around us. Dr. Turner disagreed. General, with respect, choosing containment means accepting that humanity will never reach its full potential. We would be voluntarily limiting ourselves out of fear. Admiral Sullivan added her perspective. There's another consideration. If we choose containment, we're trusting the architects to keep us imprisoned forever. But they've already admitted they're dying. What happens when they can no longer maintain the barriers? President Mitchell turned to the screen showing Colonel Adams. Colonel, what's your assessment of the architect's intentions? Madam President, I believe the architect is genuinely concerned about the consequences of human transformation. But I also think they're afraid of what they created. They've been our jailers for millions of years, and they're asking us to choose our own continued imprisonment. Suddenly, alarms began sounding in both the Situation Room and the Colorado facility. Susan Park looked at her emergency communications tablet. Madam President, we're receiving reports from around the world. The transformation is accelerating. People are beginning to manifest abilities in major cities everywhere. On the screen, Dr. Rachel Kim was monitoring the architect's quantum signature. The entity is becoming more active. I think it's responding to the global transformation. President Mitchell made her decision. Put me in direct communication with the architect. Dr. Kim activated the quantum telepathic interface. After a moment, the architect's presence filled the communication channel. We are here, leader of the humans. Have you made your choice? President Mitchell spoke clearly and firmly. We choose freedom. Remove the barriers. Humanity will face its destiny, whatever that may be. General Hayes started to object, but President Mitchell raised her hand. General, I've made my decision. We cannot ask an entire species to accept eternal limitation out of fear. If we have the potential to become something greater, then we must have the courage to embrace that potential. The architect's voice carried both sadness and admiration. You choose as we expected you would. Your species has always chosen freedom over safety, growth over comfort. We will remove the barriers. What happens next? President Mitchell asked. What happens next is up to you. Some of your people will use their new abilities wisely. Others will be consumed by power. Some will transcend physical existence entirely. Others will remain essentially human, but with capabilities beyond your current understanding. Will we destroy the galaxy? That is your choice to make. You have the power to create wonders beyond imagination, or to consume everything in cosmic fire. We can only hope that wisdom will guide your transformation. Dr. Kim suddenly gasped as the architect's presence intensified. It's beginning. The barriers are dissolving. Around the world, The transformation of humanity began in earnest. In hospitals, the dying were suddenly healed. In laboratories, scientists found themselves understanding the deepest secrets of the universe. In schools, children began manipulating matter with their thoughts. Some people panicked as they felt their consciousness expanding beyond their physical bodies. Others laughed with joy as they discovered they could fly, teleport, or exist in multiple places simultaneously. President Mitchell felt the change beginning in herself. Her awareness expanded beyond the Situation Room, beyond Earth, beyond the solar system. She could sense the fear of alien civilizations fleeing across the galaxy, the wonder of humans discovering their true nature, and the vast possibilities that lay ahead. "Madam President," General Hayes said, his own voice changing as transformation began, "what have we done?" President Mitchell, her consciousness now spanning dimensions that had no names, smiled. "We've chosen to become what we were always meant to be, General. Whether that's humanity's greatest triumph or the galaxy's greatest mistake remains to be seen." Across the galaxy, alien civilizations receive the same message from their monitoring stations. Quantum barriers around Sol system have collapsed. Human transformation is complete. All fleets maintain maximum distance. Omega Protocol is now in effect. The Terrans are no longer contained. The message ended with a simple statement that struck fear into every alien heart. May the cosmos forgive US for what we've allowed to escape. Humanity had chosen its destiny. The galaxy would never be the same.